Welcome to Spirit Fed, a place that will nourish your soul and ignite your spirit. I hope you're hungry. It is the supernatural intervention of God that transforms the impossible into the possible. When we consider the concept of miracles, it is important to understand that they are not solely dependent on our own merits or worthiness. As human beings, we are inherently flawed and sinful. We fall short of the glory of God and are undeserving of His miracles. However, despite our shortcomings, God's love and compassion for His creation remain unwavering. God's miracles are not limited to those who believe in Him or have faith in His existence. He extends His miraculous interventions even to those who doubt or deny His existence. His grace knows no boundaries and His mercy extends to all, regardless of their beliefs or past actions. Think back to the moments in your life when you were in desperate situations. Perhaps you were involved in activities that were contrary to God's will. Or maybe you were trapped in the clutches of darkness and despair. In those moments, when all hope seemed lost, God was there for you. He reached out His hand and rescued you from the grips of evil. Remember the time when you were under the influence of the devil, engaging in activities that were harmful to yourself and others. Despite your allegiance to darkness, God protected you and shielded you from harm. He saw the potential for redemption within you and chose to extend His love and grace. And what about when you were a witch, dabbling in the occult and embracing supernatural forces that were not of God? Even in those moments, God did not abandon you. He was there, patiently waiting for you to turn to Him. He knew that His love and power were greater than any spell or enchantment, and He delivered you from the clutches of darkness. Even when you doubted God's existence or questioned His ability to help you, He was still working behind the scenes. He stopped that car wreck from happening, protecting you from potential harm and danger. It was His invisible hand guiding the circumstances and ensuring your safety. God's mercy and grace are truly astounding. They are not contingent on our past actions or present circumstances. He doesn't withhold His miracles based on our worthiness or goodness. Instead, every miracle begins with a need. It is when we recognize our limitations and acknowledge our need for divine intervention that God steps in and works His miracles. It is important to note that there is a distinction between a miracle and a blessing. While both are acts of God's goodness, a miracle goes beyond the natural order of things. It defies human logic and transcends our limited understanding. A miracle is characterized by the absence of resources, connections, virtue, or abilities on our part. It is God's supernatural intervention that brings about the desired outcome. On the other hand, a blessing can be seen as a more general display of God's favor and goodness. It may involve the provision of resources, the fulfillment of desires, or the experience of joy and happiness. While blessings are certainly valuable and appreciated, they do not necessarily require the same level of divine intervention as a miracle. No matter how undeserving we may be, God's miracles are not dependent on our worthiness or belief. His love and compassion extend to all, regardless of our past or present circumstances. When we find ourselves in desperate need, it is the supernatural intervention of God that transforms the impossible into the possible. His mercy and grace are truly astounding, and every miracle begins with a recognition of our need for His divine intervention. So let us remain hopeful and expectant, knowing that God is always working behind the scenes, ready to perform miracles in our lives. There are moments in life when we come face to face with challenges that seem insurmountable, situations that appear impossible to overcome. It is during these times that we often find ourselves feeling helpless, lacking the resources or power to bring about a resolution on our own. We yearn for a higher authority, someone who can intervene and enter into our circumstances to make a difference. And there is no one who captures the attention of Jesus more than when we approach Him with our deepest needs. He has the ability to bring about a change in our situation. We understand that He is not only willing to help, but He is also eager to do so. There is something about our helplessness and our acknowledgement of our need for Him that grabs His attention. Jesus is not indifferent to our struggles. He is not distant or uninterested. On the contrary, He is deeply moved by our needs and desires to intervene in our lives. When we come to Him with a humble and sincere heart, acknowledging our dependence on Him, He is quick to respond. We may feel overwhelmed and powerless, but Jesus has the power to bring about the impossible. He can turn the darkest situations into moments of triumph and victory. He can transform our despair into hope, our weakness into strength. There is nothing too big or too small for Him to handle. So, let us approach Jesus with confidence, knowing that He is the ultimate authority who can bring about the change we so desperately need. Let us lay our burdens at His feet and trust in His unfailing love and power. For when we do, we can rest assured that He will not only hear our cries for help, but also respond in ways that exceed our expectations.